Now, let's talk about the task ahead of Dr. Olayemi Cardoso, the new CBN governor. I'm joined by Chief Economist, SPM Professionals, Paul Alaje. Thank you for joining us on the program this hour. Dr. Cardoso is assuming the leadership of the CBN at a very crucial time in our economic history. There is the serious confidence crisis we currently have in the foreign exchange market that is fueling an unprecedented speculative onslaught on the naira. What do you think it must do differently this time?
Thank you so very much. I think Mr. Cardoso, who has just been confirmed as the central bank governor, must do a number of things that will be a complete departure from where we are coming from. First, he must look at the economic issue holistically, unlike what we have seen the former administration of central bank, what they've done has been to promote policy and sometimes attempt to unilaterally carry out some of this policy. It's also important from Mr. Cardoso to also be mindful of the operators of economy in order to achieve certain results. Recall that the Monetary Policy Committee under the former administration has continued to increase interest rates even to unprecedented numbers. And I can tell you that reasons why they mention inflation, reason why they mentioned the increase in interest rate was to combat inflation. But I can tell you that that is not the case. Inflation continues to grow even in double digits as we speak, and we have it even till now. Therefore, two major things that must be in front of Mr. Cardoso. How will he deal with the issue of confidence? And how will he deal with the issue of stability? These are two issues that he must deal with. I understand that his core mandate will be stability of two things among others. Price stability, which is evident in the rate we measure called inflation from the basket of commodity. The second one is exchange rate. A lot of Nigerians are now aware of how unstable the currency is. So Mr. Cardoso must also be much more transparent than the previous administration. If you check the central bank website, under the last administration, you consistently see over $30 billion as a foreign reserve. But a report revealed that what we had with the central bank in terms of reserve was indeed less than $30 billion. Meanwhile, JP Morgan revealed that what we have may even be less than $10 billion.
I hear you, Mr. Laje. I'm hoping that we can reconnect with you as well. But there's the business of banking, or rather the business of the CBN itself, but there's also the politics of it. I want us to explore the Godwin Emefiele leadership of the Apex Bank in the last 9 years. It culminated in the Naira redesign policy that has now been widely tagged as an anti-people policy with political motives. The new CBN governor yesterday at the Senate chamber did say that he won't allow himself to be hijacked by politicians. But in the real sense, he was appointed by one. So how does he draw the line in this regard?
Well, a lot of ways. You recall that I spoke with your colleague, Mr. Tolu, regarding the currency redesign, and I said that this may be the beginning of the end of that institution called the central bank. I vehemently criticized, vehemently antagonized that policy of currency redesign. I understand that there may be some benefit, but when you look at the redesign of currency in itself is not what we should adopt at that time. And now you cannot separate the former central bank governor with politics, because we saw what happened as interest was really very high by the then central bank governor who wants to run for the office of the president, technically speaking. But you also see that we have seen a central bank governor, become governor of a state. But I think unlike the one immediate past governor, the previous one, I'm talking of Professor Charles Soludo, who is the governor of Anambra State, he has followed the due process. He followed the normal standard, understandable method, unlike what we saw in the last dispensation. It has to do with the self, with the person. Mr. Cardoso must proved himself as a person of integrity. He has committed his word that will not have anything to do with politics. I believe he must have read the act that, of course, he will work with, and he has also promised to work with the National Assembly. I think we should give him the benefit of the doubt and also watch what will happen under the central bank. I mean, it's what will happen in the central bank under the leadership of Mr. Olayemi Cardoso.
We've also heard him talk about plans to shore up the country's gross domestic product to about $1 trillion in 8 years. I guess we'll find out how that will work out in time. But Mr. President himself, we were told, approved certain drastic measures to reverse the current momentum in the foreign exchange market. But the naira, as we speak, keeps falling at an unprecedented rate. Some say it's now 1,000 naira. The figures is a little bit less today. But how far would you say the unification policy of the foreign exchange has succeeded? It would seem that it's yet to be unified.
Well, I told you that from the beginning, I did not support the unification method. The method we adopted in attempting to unify our FX. I was very vehement when the policy was to start, and I saw the pattern. I said the only takeaway from this policy will be devaluation, and that is what it has turned to. The intention of Mr. President, when he announced, was for that unification between parallel market and official rate, collapse of multiple exchange rate window. But is that exactly what happened? Not completely, because those who implemented the policy, of course, had done otherwise. So I want to believe that under this new central bank governor, we're going to see a more unified without necessarily devaluing currency. And what does that mean? So that we also be fair on those that have been there before. What we have advised they do, and they have not done, is to solve the supply side problem. Our real problem today in our economy, it is not because one person is there or one person is not there. It is because we have refused to follow the principle of economics. And when I say economy, I mean applied economics. I need to clarify that, of providing for the supply side. Today, many Nigerians want commodity that the country does not produce. Unfortunately, if you don't produce and you must consume, somebody else must produce elsewhere. In this production, those who have produced are demanding for our foreign reserve, monies to be released from our foreign reserve. And that is why we see the depletion. The lower the foreign reserve of a country grows, without the country improving in exports or any of the same, then the currency will go lower. What that means is we will now need to spend more in order to buy less. And that is why it has implication of making more people to be poor, or making life to be more difficult, or bringing hardship among Nigerians. A policy that was intended to bring succor, more revenue to government, as advised by international organizations, namely IMF and World Bank, is now becoming a thing of concern for Nigerians, for importers, for manufacturers, and many others, because the implementation was not properly done.
The CBN, we understand, has blamed the instability in the foreign exchange on speculative demand by some people. What do you think, what approach do you think the new leadership must bring to bear in this regard?
Well, I agree 100% with the central bank. Speculation against the naira is so high. Let me ask you a question in this interview. If I were to give you between ₦1 million and $1,000, which of these would you want to take? Would you prefer to take ₦1 million or $1,000 today? It has to do with the issue of confidence in the local currency. Bringing confidence, we go beyond the central bank alone. My argument with that of our organization has been in the previous administration and even before the last administration, from towards the end of President Jonathan's administration, and of course throughout President Buhari's administration, we have maintained that we need different sectors of the economy to communicate. We don't mean that they should sit in the same office and start talking together. We mean their policies should align. Nigeria's policy should be towards exports, should be towards production, should be less of consumption. Unfortunately, if we don't don't take all of these things, I tell you, we will continue to suffer major setback with our currency. Our economy will continue to have high inflation. Even when some part of the world may be having some sign of relief, it might not extend to us as a people and as a country.
Interesting days ahead. We understand the dollars are today selling at 985 naira and buying at 995. Chief Economist, SPM Professionals, Paul Olayemi, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this evening.